Okay, reconvening this meeting of the Paris Union High School District at 5:02. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Cooley for invocation, please.
Please bow your heads for a moment of silent prayer. Thank you.
Okay, a revision, adoption, ordering of the agenda. Do we have any changes requested? Okay. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Ed and David. Please vote. Tears working.
Still reconvening. Mine's broken. Well, Joe's going to come up and fix it, right?
Here. These always work.
I had a I didn't even touch it.
That's what's wrong, is you didn't touch it.
It shows that you haven't voted either.
Well, it hasn't switched. I've clicked the call for vote thing, but it doesn't go to the next step. So it's not my fault.
There's your vote.
Oh, okay. Did you get? I got mine. Did you get yours?
Get what?
Lori, we might need you.
Hang on. She got hers.
Okay.
Let me jump in here. She's on. Is that yours? This is the current item?
Yeah, but it lost all the data on it.
Just vote.
Okay. Did it pop up to vote?
Uh-huh. Everybody.
Everybody but me voted.
There you go. Yay.
I'd like to point that out.
Thanks, Joe.
He did a lot of stuff on it. Okay. Oral reports out of closed session.
There's no report this evening, Mr. President, from closed session.
District update by the superintendent.
Well, good evening, everybody. We have a lot of great business to do tonight, but want to start off by saying we started school. We're in day 8, and things are going great. And want to start off our meeting by going a little backwards instead of talking about what we're doing now. I want to talk about something that happened over the summer. We kicked off the first Colorado internship program at Rutledge Farms, and we had 2 students and a teacher from Paris High School who went. And so I'd like to introduce teacher Ms. Thomas and her 2 students, Emily and Anessa, to come up and do a quick PowerPoint and tell us about their great experience out on the farm.
Hello, my name is Anessa White. I am one of the students who went to the Colorado trip, and I'm from Paris High School.
And I'm Emily Hamblin. I am a senior at Paris High School, and I also had the wonderful opportunity to attend the Rutledge Farm internship.
I would like to start off by thanking Dr. Greenberg, Ms. Rains, Mrs. Savage, Mr. Schwartz, and the Board of Trustees, Mr. Holstrom, Mrs. Cooley, Mr. Nielsen, Mr. Agundez, and Mrs. Twyman, and Paris High School Principal, Mr. Hilton, for supporting our internship at Rutledge Farm. We would like to show you pictures and tell you about our experience. It started off by us flying out to Colorado, which was my first plane ride. And while we got there, we had a little fun while meeting the family. Then the next day, we had a couple of horse riding lessons, which was actually pretty fun. And we also got the opportunity to learn how to rope cattle. This was when we went to the hog barns and helped load hogs into semi-trucks. This was throughout the whole trip, we had the opportunity to move cattle, and it was over 400 head of cattle, from moving them from pasture to pasture, and that was probably one of my favorite experiences. We also had a tour of the county dairy, and we learned all the process that they do. And this is the feed truck that goes around and feeds all the animals. There was also baby calves there. And we also had the opportunity to learn about the crop dusting industry. This was more of the cattle that we were able to move. And we also had a tour of the Irrigation Research Foundation. They taught us how every day farmers find new ways to help improve agriculture. We even we even had the
It tastes like sweet corn. It was bitter.
we also had the opportunity to eat corn straight from the fields. And now Emily will talk to you guys about the rest of our trip.
So what Anessa is holding is a corn, and each one of those tassels can equal one head of corn. So it's amazing to see it. It's called silk. Oh, one kernel. One kernel. So each silk can represent one kernel if it is pollinized. Oh, how do you do this again? Bam. And that is to collect corn, they use just giant tractors with the combine on it, and that is the engine of the combine at the Irrigation Research Center. And so he taught us how the process of the corn going through it and how it pulls off everything to just leave the corn. And then my favorite part of this trip, or one of my favorite parts, was visiting Colorado State University. I personally want to attend, and it's one thing to look at a computer screen and think, is that a good angle or in a shot, or is it that's how beautiful it looks? and trust me, it's more beautiful than pictures. And their mascot is the ram, so we're standing next to the statue of the ram. We also got a tour of the animal science building that is under construction. Another tour was the meat science lab, where we got to see them package the meat and tell us about the USDA and what qualifications meat have to go through. That was our tour guide giving us tours, and Anessa believes she has a beard. Another thing we got to do is meet a recruitment. What was his name again? Ruben Flores. He was a recruiter, and he gave us so many goodies that included the mission requirement and programs that are offered there and so much more. And on our downtime before our next tour, we went to Fort Fun, which was really fun. That's me and Anessa paddling with Miles in the back. He got off. They had their own. We also went miniature golfing. And then our next tour was the annual floral trial garden, where we got to see all of the trial gardens and to see they would have the different ground plants, and they would see if we give this one this much water and this much fertilizers, and they would compare it to see which one was the best and gave the most blossom of flowers. That was our tour guide giving us a tour of the beautiful gardens. Another picture of the gardens. And an interesting fact is the pots that have the flowers in there have been there for over 15 years, and they're still in perfect condition. I thought that was interesting. The RDEC, or Agriculture Research Development and Educational Center, is where future ag teachers learn how to become an ag teacher, and it was very beautiful to go see that learning environment and get to see how they learn. While we were there, we got to see a tour of the RDEC, and this was one part of the tour. It kind of got photoshopped out, or not photoshopped, but not captioned in, was steers on the right. We also went to the equine center, where we learned about horses, which are equines, and their growing industry in it for racing horses and so much more. Another picture of the equine center, which Anessa loved because she loves horses. More horses. And we also got a tour of the veterinarian hospital, which future veterinarians study there and get their practice in. And that was personally what I want to do. I want to become a veterinarian. So it was interesting to go there and see their learning environment, and it was very beautiful and high tech. We also got to learn about irrigation, and it was, what was it called? Towers, and the towers would it would send a signal, and the next one would turn, and then that one would send a signal. Pivots, there you go. So the pivots would send signals, but in order for that to happen, it has to have a certain amount of oil. So we would have to move the little dial to make sure it was the perfect oil, and each drop had to go for every 3 seconds. So that's what we're doing right there. And we also got to ride on a plane to see the Yuma County agriculture, and we got to see the Rutledge family's crops and other crops also, and by far the Rutledge was the most greenest and fullest plants, or corn and such. That's us on the plane. We also went to the Stramlock feedlot, and you saw us moving cattle in the pasture. After they are a certain weight, they moved to the feedlot, which they would go and eat grain and gain more weight before they go on to the next level. And there we were holding whole corn that just got out of the smasher and the heater, so it was very warm, and we actually got to try some, and I liked it. That's great. No molasses was added yet to it, so it wasn't very sweet. There we were also learning about, he was showing us the corn and how the heater and where it smashed it down to a flake. The Stramlock cattle. We also got to move goats to get bred. So all those goats went to a buck to go get bred to have babies because baby goats are so adorable. There we were learning how to ride a tractor, and driving a tractor is actually very easy in my opinion. I almost hit a mailbox. That was only one time. That was us harvesting the wheat. It was raining a lot in Colorado, or more than usual, so we had to wait until almost the end of our trip to actually get to harvest the wheat to make sure it was a certain amount of driedness. So to the left is the combine, and to the right is the tractor, which collected the wheat product and then transported it to another semi to move it to the next. So I think Anessa was driving the tractor right now.
It's Forrest.
Oh, Forrest was?
Yeah, you can see his hat.
Oh, I see his hat now. Well, we both had the opportunity to drive the tractor. And that was my hands after we were done. It was very, very dusty and is a lot of hard work to collect it. That's Vanessa with, to the right, that's whole wheat that just got collected, so that's how it looks. And then to the left is before he gets collected and Anessa. And then that was us leaving Otis, and her pet giraffe is named Otis, so it's a backpack. But it was funny because, yeah. Thanks again to everyone who made this trip possible. Is there any questions for us? Yes. Thank you. We will.
Thank you, ladies. And again, thank you to Crystal Thomas, the teacher who went with them, and thank you to the Rutledge family for hosting, and for Mrs. Cooley staying on top of us. Yeah, that's right. We'll do it again. Absolutely. Again, we're off to a great start, and this year we started the year very differently. We had a symposium for all employees August 5th and 6th at Heritage High School, and mostly it was trainings put on by our own people. Virtually all the trainings were put on by the experts, our teachers, our classified staff, our administrators, and the evaluations from it were off the charts. 90% of our employees gave 4s and 5s being the highest rating. And I thought I would read to you just a few of the quotes from some of our employees who submitted it. A classified employee said, I wanted to send a quick thank you for the training we just completed. It was wonderful. Usually we go into something like this dreading the 2 days, but it was great from beginning to end. There was not one class that I did not enjoy, get something from, learn more from, or just feel like it helped me in my job. Thank you for taking the time to set it up and provide it to us. What a great endeavor it had to be for all those involved. It went so well, and your team did an excellent job. Thank you again for taking the extra time to bring us together. I'm excited for this year, and in great part, it is from the last 2 days. A teacher from Heritage High School said to Candace Rains, who was a teacher that day, or those 2 days, I just wanted to tell you that your session was the best one I attended today, and not just because I got a prize. I learned more than 3 things that I am more confident in terms of using Google. Thank you for your wonderful teaching. A teacher from Paloma Valley High School said, just wanted to say how much I enjoyed today and yesterday. I love running into people that I don't get to see once the school year starts. The training sessions were great, as Tom, Mark, and Chad all provided me with new information on Haiku and Google. The keynote speaker was very heartfelt in his sharing with us the importance of getting the students to believe in themselves. Subway and the barbecue lunch were very tasty. A member of our nutrition services team said, I just wanted to say thank you for having nutrition services as part of these 2 days of fun. It's been great to see other PUHSD members and catch up on life. And all the guest speakers whom we had the pleasure of hearing, and the food was perfect. I'm so happy we've been given the chance to come to your district. I personally love what I do each day, and I just want to say thank you so much. Hope you all have a great week. And so a smattering of opinions, but I certainly would be remiss if I didn't thank Marcy's department led by Grant Bennett, who put this together. Grant, you did a wonderful job. Congratulations. And I know, Grant, you had a right-hand person, Mr. Charles Tippy, so I want to make sure that he gets recognized. And of course, the technology department, they were great as well. Thank you very much, Joe. At the 2 days, we had a keynote speaker, Dr. Pedro Noguera, who many of us heard about 6 months ago. He spoke to a group of people at the county, and we came away saying, wow, this guy would be a great keynote speaker. He's just so brilliant. Dr. Noguera, PhD, Professor of Education, Peter L. Agnew, Professor of Education, Steinhardt School of Culture, Education Development, and Executive Director of the Metropolitan Center for Research on Equity and the Transformation of Schools at New York University. Now, when I read you all that, you'd probably say, oh man, this guy's like, brilliant and probably can't relate to people. Quite the opposite. And not only in his keynotes both days, but also in the breakout session with our certificated staff, he was amazing. And really what I wanted to do was tell you that the purpose of his presentations were to challenge all of us to rethink our assumptions regarding what the professionals can do to better reconnect with our students in school. If we continue our current policies and practices, Dr. Noguera said, we will continue to get the same results, meaning many students will fail to graduate from high school, many will not meet the A through G college entrance requirements, and scores, and we will have less students less engaged, and their learning experiences won't be what we want. Real change can only happen when all of us occasionally feel uncomfortable about what we're doing and then take a serious look in the mirror, have serious discussions in our professional learning communities, departments, and other venues about what we can do differently to help our students be more successful in school. Looking at student achievement, including test scores, needs to be part of that discussion, but certainly not the only data that we look at. And as a school, as a district, the transformational breakthroughs we had last year in the implementation of Common Core, Avid instructional strategies, smarter balanced assessments, and who could forget technology, began in the classroom, teacher to teacher, in PLCs and in departments. Dr. Noguera's challenges were meant to have the same transformation occur in how we do our work with our students in classrooms, out on campuses, and in the offices. Without it, none of what we did last year will have the same transformational results we want with our students this year. So we really enjoyed having Dr. Noguera, and we had a lot of positive feedback on that as well. So I thought I'd share that with you. Recently, like end of July into the first day of August, many of our certificated staff members attended the annual AVID conference in San Diego. I went this year to find out what I can do as a superintendent to better support this program. And as everybody knows, AVID is the how. It's the strategies we need to use in all of our classrooms to make sure all of our students are successful. I also want to make a brief shout out. We talked at the last board meeting about trying to get our free and reduced lunch rate up to 80%. It's about 73% in the district. And it's everybody's challenge. It's not just nutrition services. But I wanted to read to you a letter that we got from a parent who came from central Los Angeles and who just came into our district and wanted to compliment our employees. And actually this letter comes from our Executive Director of Human Resources, Tanya Davis. She wrote, I just got off the phone with a parent who had to call and tell us about how wonderful you and Ms. Alvarez had been to his family. He shared with me that both had called him several times over the past few days to make sure his students, a senior and freshman at Paloma Valley, were fed and that their applications were processed. The parent explained that he had moved from South Central LA a few years ago. He is blind and does not have a car. He could not stop telling me how special our district is because our employees care. He told me other school districts don't care like we do. He said he's never experienced anything like it before. And Tanya went on to say to these two nutrition service workers, "You are two shining examples of how we treat our families. Making sure our students eat every day is the minimum. But calling a parent several times to check in on them is going above and beyond. You've made a positive impression that will last a long time." And so, we talk always about our support staff, and certainly we talk about our teachers and administrators and the great work they do. But behind the scenes, our nutrition service workers are making a difference in making sure students eat and that the parents feel comfortable about filling out the application. So I wanted to make sure that we had a good shout out to them as well tonight. So what's coming up? We have back to school nights for the next 2 weeks. You're going to be out almost every night, and so am I at back to school nights. Tomorrow night, we have the summer commencement beginning at 6 o'clock at Heritage High School. So hopefully, board members, you can be there. I would like to also say that yesterday, Candace Rains and I and Mr. Joe Williams and Mr. Tom Ashley, technology coach over at Paloma Valley, thanks to Mr. Ashley, we had an opportunity to sit down with Congressman Mark Takano in Candace's office and had an opportunity to talk to him about the things we were doing. Mr. Ashley's been a great advocate for what we've been doing and making sure the congressman knows what he can do in Washington to help encourage the kind of things that are going on here in terms of Common Core, AVID, and the technology as well. So it was quite an opportunity, and I thank Mr. Ashley for making that opportunity happen. Finally, we don't talk enough about the culture that exists in our district. We have a wonderful history that Mr. Holstrom spends a lot of time with his historical society trying to make sure that people remember that there's a great past in Paris and certainly a great past in the rest of our district as well. Tomorrow night, the district is co-sponsoring, even though it's the same night as commencement, and they couldn't change their date, so it's unavoidable, unfortunately. But we are supporting the Dora Nelson African American Art and History Museum. Tomorrow night, they're putting on a show called The World is My Home, The Life and Times of Paul Robeson. It's a one-man show by award-winning actor Stogie Kenyatta. The Cape Cod Times recently said that using theater as a vehicle for social change, Kenyatta as Robeson is powerful and poignant, entertaining and educational, heartfelt and humorous. The show celebrates our common humanity. The school district stood up and committed $1,500. We bought 100 student tickets and distributed it to our schools so they could have students attend and be a part of it. It is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for those who want to attend, and I'm looking for the address. Oh, it's at the First Baptist Church here in Paris at 311 East 5th Street. And so, again, a great cultural event reminding this community of its cultural history. So with that, Mr. President, that'll conclude my report for this evening.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Greenberg. Oral reports, PSCA President Paul Clay.
Hello, thank you once again for allowing me this opportunity to address the Board of Trustees. And I do want to kind of dovetail on one thing that Dr. Greenberg said. Those 4 days of training were very popular. The first two especially, we did achieve, I think, something of a breakthrough in terms of what we covered there and what was addressed. But I'm always the one who doesn't lead the cheer, I suppose, and I bring issues to you about things that are going on in our district. And it's only been a couple of weeks, and there are some issues. Once again, while our district has consistently been lowering the standards in regards to discipline, I've been repeatedly informing this board of the many problems we still see out there, the mounting problems it poses for PSCA members, our staff, and students. But now I also have to report to you that the academic standards are also being dismantled as well. During this meeting, and this was unfortunate, this training we had, a member was berated in front of peers for not accepting late work from a student who was habitually not turning in the work when due, even when given extensions. The message to our members is that even if a student is habitually truant given ample time to make up work and may choose not to do the work until long after it's due, we are told we should accept it, even up to the last days of school. And this is wrong. We were also told at the same meeting not to mark students tardy. I understand Dr. Greenberg's motives in this, but this is not the way to achieve his goals. We are bound by law to record tardy students, and I have instructed members to ignore Dr. Greenberg's directions on that point. I cannot condone breaking the law. Certainly, this new direction diminishes one of our primary purposes of school, that of preparing students for the work world. Employers would no more accept shoddy late work, absenteeism, late starts than should we. During fall semester last year, several students were improperly enrolled in A+, a credit recovery class, instead of being enrolled in a regular class, apparently at the direction of site administrators. Students were denied the opportunity to be in a class with a teacher of their subject, and further reports from teachers in the spring semester were that they were completely unprepared for that semester. While the new administrators at this site have stopped this practice, I have concern that it continues elsewhere in the district. We need clear direction from administrators to stop this practice. At Heritage, we had 2 valuable days taken away from us at the beginning of the semester for a program of dubious merit. This was nothing more than a repackaging of the advisory period that the members at the site had already voted down. It was not well managed. There were many mistakes. More than a week later, we are still getting corrections. And students themselves were confused about this program. They were expecting to go to class, their classes, the ones that they would take, and instead they wound up with teachers that they weren't going to see for the rest of the year. And it was very confusing, in fact, for the teachers as well. Added to this, both textbooks and Chromebooks were not distributed at Heritage until this week. My students just got their books yesterday. Or, I'm sorry, I apologize. I believe it was Monday. We were ready to go. We just didn't have the books to do the work. I do want to note and applaud that the administration and the hiring of the ERMS employees was apparently diverse in their selection. But these are not high-profile administrators or administrators of district-wide programs such as at A Street or DO. This is a rare and much too small commitment to diversity. I would ask that the board take a look into the question of diversity in the hiring and promotion practices among administrators. By my count, and I guarantee you I may be off on this, but I tried to err conservatively, 15 administrators who either became administrators or were promoted to another position as an administrator were white, while less than half that number were minorities. And at the same time, we seem to have had more minority administrators leave the district than white administrators. It seems to be an issue. And I ask that we take a look in this and see if there's something we can do. There was something else, too, is we started a new program where students were taking a year-long program for the first time at Heritage this summer. But they were trying to take 5 weeks to do this. That amounts to, basically, in the period of time allotted, a chapter per hour during the day. I'm sorry, I overstated that. A section per hour. Still an awful lot. Maybe not. Maybe that is a chapter. But the issue is that we felt from the beginning that they would be overtasked with this and that it would be difficult for them to really assimilate an entire year in 5 weeks. I would ask to see what the dropout rate from these classes were. I would like to know that because I feel that these kids maybe were overburdened and didn't achieve a good base of knowledge in these materials. With that, I thank you again, and I'm hoping we're having a good year. I will say this. At one of our sites, I have received reports that were absolutely outstanding. You know, since the change of administration there, the members have come to me and told me that it's much better. The morale is better, the cooperation is better, the constant fear that many of them had has been abated. At 2 other sites, we're very hopeful. I've visited both the sites several times in the last 8 days, and at one, I note that the members there were very enthused by what they saw in the first few days and very, very happy. The other one, perhaps we have a little work to do there, but still the feeling is very positive. So there are changes, and I do want to note that because while I do often tell you the confrontational side, the conflict, the problems, the issues, the things that I guess don't get talked about enough. I do want to stress that this is coming from my members. They are saying to me that things are improving at these 3 sites. The other 3 sites, we have ways to go yet. So that's my report for the day if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Oral reports, CSE President Robert Colvin.
Good afternoon, Dr. Greenberg and Cabinet, President Holstrom and trustees. Happy New Year, happy new school year. We're off to a flying start. I think we've noticed in maintenance operations, if not throughout the district, that our first week of the new school year just went off a lot smoother than many times in the past. And considering the huge ambitious project going on at Paris High School, that's quite a feat to be able to do things the way it happened. So kudos to all of you. There 2 days before the school year started, the classes start, there was the symposium that Dr. Greenberg had mentioned, dealing primarily with professional development, and our classified personnel appreciate the opportunity to participate in that. That meant quite a lot to many of us. There was one class in particular, preparing for your next job, that would have been nice if all classified could have taken that. Many of our classified, of course, being in the positions they're in, have room for increased improvement in their incomes, and so that would be a fantastic class if they could take that. Perhaps maybe somehow it might be offered in one of the afternoon professional development sessions during the year that they could attend. And then myself personally, in this new school year, I have made it a goal myself to have far fewer discipline and grievance actions this school year than we've had in the past. And one of the ways we've done that is in contract negotiations this past year. We worked diligently with the district as far as trying to clear up a lot of ambiguities in the contract, have less confusion and misunderstandings and so forth. We did miss one, but we're working on that right now as we speak. So that's proceeding nicely. And then we also have 2 new technician positions that are being reviewed right now. We appreciate those being considered, and we hope to have those in place soon. And with that, I'd like to know if you have any questions. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, invitation to address the Board of Trustees, agendized and non-agendized items. Person wishing to be heard by the board shall first be recognized by the president, and then shall proceed to comment as briefly as possible as the subject permits. Individual speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board in each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for presentation. Okay, we don't have that many people, so we'll just start with our 2 here. First of all, Tom Ashley, member of the Mount Sentinel Board of Trustees, something about band measure AA. Bond. Oh. Yeah, it's his fault.
President Holstrom, members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Greenberg and Cabinet, thanks a lot for taking a moment to hear me out. Tonight, I'm not here as your employee, but I'm here as your peer. Mount San Jacinto Community College District is trying to do something that you did successfully just 2 years ago. We have placed bond measure AA on the ballot for November. I'm up here asking you all to do your best to support it if you do support it. We are going to build the remainder of the Menifee campus so that it's finished. We're going to move a large football stadium to Menifee, where we have huge plans. We're also going to be building out a STEM center in Wildemar off of Clinton Keith. The San Jacinto campus is often in disrepair. We don't even have stadium lights, which it's just not up to par for a community college. The amount that we are trying to get the voters to approve is $295 million. Now, that might sound like a lot, but our district encompasses about 10 school districts, so it is a huge boundary going all the way up to, Banning and all the way down to Pechanga Indian Reservation and out to Camp Pendleton. So it's a very small amount on anyone's tax bill. To be specific, $13.20 per $100,000 of assessed value. That's small. It's conservative. And really what we're trying to do is link this money to put ourselves at the front of matching funds at the state, assuming that the state does put forward a bond for higher education. In the meantime, we can use the money for things that we know we won't get matching funds for, that we do need other facilities, and we will move forward with that. And so I hope that I can get as many of you, all of you, to just simply endorse the bond, sign a card, not tonight, but, I know how to find you guys. And I hope to get you on board to support Measure AA, the MSJC school bond. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Other than that, thank you, Dr. Greenberg, for the nice remarks earlier.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. Next one, Brady McCarron. Early thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President and board members, Dr. Greenberg and cabinet, and all in attendance tonight. Pardon me for being a bit premature with this. I'm sure there are probably going to be more formalities later, but my schedule and the possibilities of an uncertain future make this the best opportunity for you to come forward, for me to come forward tonight and say something that truly needs to be said. I have been fortunate in the past few years to have sat on a few boards. My first ever board, I was lucky enough to sit with Mr. Agundez, and I learned the ins and outs from a great teacher. Many lessons I still use today as the vice chair of the Planning Commission for the City of Paris. Then 6 years ago, I started attending these meetings here at the district, and though some of the members of the board have changed, there is one constant that has remained true from then to today, and that is a strong leader, and that is Mr. Hallstrom. Either as a sitting board member or serving as the president, you have remained a consummate professional and a role model for what board members of any type of board should be, let alone one as important as a school board. During your time sitting on the board, you have had to endure extreme financial issues, angered parents, former board members who didn't look at the agenda until the day of the meeting, meetings that have run over to the point where the system has shut down on the board members, plus numerous other issues, far too many to mention in the 3 minutes that I've been allotted. And yet, in those 6 years that I've been coming here, I do not recall you missing one single meeting during your tenure. When I ran for school board in 2009, I got to know you, and I thought that it would be a great opportunity for me to serve on the board with you and make this district the best in the county and in the state. But destiny is destiny, and that was not meant to be. So we fast forward to February of this year, and I asked you if you were going to run again, and I knew that if you were, I was not going to, because I could not run against a person that I had great respect for and personally that I would like to see win and more than likely would vote for. So I am here today because I wanted to be the first of no doubt many people who are going to say thank you for all that you have done for this district. I think there are many people here tonight who would agree with me when I say thank you is really not enough to express our appreciation for the legacy that you will leave here for the many, many years to come. I hope that in November I will win the election, but Lord only knows what will happen. But as I told your wife Lorna the other day, and I mean it with all sincerity, that one thing is for sure, that if I am fortunate enough to win, there is no way possible that I feel that I could fill your shoes. I hope that I could put my shoes next to yours in the conversation in the future when they say, name the great board members that have served. But I would not be able to fill your shoes. And I don't think many people can. So again, Mr. Hallstrom, as a teacher, as a resident of your area, and as your friend, I just wanted to take the opportunity in front of the board and in front of the public to say thank you for your service to this board.
Thank you, Brady. Okay, the last item here, Matthew Morgan, lack of leadership at Heritage High.
Welcome back to school board. Good to see everyone here, Mr. Holstrom. That was a nice compliment, and he's right. You've done a lot for this school district, and we appreciate you. I'm here as a hopeful as the school year starts as a parent, but concerned. Another school has started, and the superintendent, as the superintendent says, 8 days have already elapsed. At Heritage, those days are just that, days. Even though it was just 2 days of those so-called social days, it's actually turned into 8. Some of our kids do not even have their Chromebooks and won't have them till next week. My son just got his Spanish book today on Wednesday. And so a lot of teachers have not even been able to teach the classes that they want to teach. But some of them have put some of the classes online, which is great, except for the kids who don't have computers to do the work. So this is a great concern because we have a 6-week progress report coming up shortly. And in that 6 weeks progress, we only will have probably about 2 weeks of actual grading or work for those kids to be doing. So there will not really be a solid curriculum done in the first 6 weeks of school. And that's a big concern when you start school late. Academics at Heritage have slowed by this lack of distribution of books and Chromebooks. More importantly, lessons plans by teachers have been altered due to the lack of organization by the administration. You have a STEM building that's been put in, which we really appreciate, except it's just like having a Lexus and not having a license. And I say that for the fact that our math scores at Heritage High School, a proficient is level 24. The state is 50. That means 76% of our kids are not proficient in math, yet we have a STEM building. Makes no sense. English learners, math is 8. The average for the school is 24. So English learners are 8. Their ELA is 11. 47 is for the average for the school itself. That is very awful. That's beyond awful. And in fact, one of the biggest concerns I have is the fact that the ELD department, which is in charge of that, when you look on a Heritage High website, you see who the person's in charge of it. And the director of that is Don Williamson. Now, that sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Especially since Mr. Williamson's over at Paloma High School. In charge of robotics is Mr. Rabin. He's not there at Heritage High School. So there's a lot of things that are going wrong at Heritage. But one of the things I have to say about that I'm hopeful of, that's why I say hopeful, is that we do have Mr. Clough and Mr. Tate Burns. They have been very responsive. They are on solid committees such as the discipline, the speech, and some of the other committees that are driving forces for our kids. I do not see our true leader that's at the school on any of these active education driving committees. I really appreciate to find out why did the school start late this semester and why are our kids' education being compromised by such a delay, because as school begins for some, it's also ending for others that are seniors that are really struggling to get into college. And if we have this continued concern of this type of leadership or lack of leadership, that STEM building is going to be a very empty building. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, consent calendar. Do I have a motion, please?
Second.
David and Joan. Any questions or anything? Okay, please vote. Okay, introduction of promoted or new employees if necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Holstrom. At the last board meeting, the governing board approved the promotion of Myra Chavez to a position that is now the administrative assistant to the executive director of human resources. Tanya Davis, would you like to come up and introduce your new partner?
She's a little shy and didn't want to say anything.
I know most of you guys.
I want to say a couple of words about Myra Chavez. She has been with Paris Union High School District for about eight years, and in those 8 years has been promoted this time for her 4th time. So she's doing something right, and I am so excited to have her as my right hand. I couldn't do my job without her, and I appreciate that she's accepted the promotion to administrative assistant.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Okay, and somebody behind the scenes who's made a huge difference in our district for a long time is the next promotion. And so, Ms. Raines, introduce our new supervisor of risk management, or Judy Miller, who's going to introduce that person.
Actually, I wanted to invite up both Crystal Guyman and Judy Miller. And while they're coming up, Crystal has been my administrative assistant for the last 6 years. She was an administrative assistant in many other positions, has been in the district since 89, 88. So I'm still a little bit angry at her, but
Nice, Judy. Put the microphone down. Very good, Judy. Real good.
So it's really going to be a sore loss for business services to lose your leadership that you provide to all of us, but we're excited to see what the two of you are going to do together. So take it away, Judy.
Well, yes, I'm happy to welcome Crystal tomorrow morning, bright and early. Get your roller skates on, because we got a lot of work to do. and I just appreciate all the kind of the stability she's created in the business services department. So I'm hoping she can really help bring that into risk management and help us get a lot of things kind of a little more solidified and just continue to take it to the next level. There you go, Crystal.
I just want to thank everybody, the board members, the cabinet, and especially my current boss for encouraging me and supporting me over the years. They've always been behind me to continue to learn and grow, and that's what I plan to keep on doing in my new position with Judy, to learn and grow. And I just appreciate the time that you've let me put in for the district, and I'll do my very best to do a great job for you.
Crystal, congratulations. Well, it gives me great honor to introduce the new principal at the Academy, Dr. Pauline Garcia, who's been in our district for 15 years. She's been a counselor. She's worked as a counselor at a school. She's worked as a counselor at the district level. She was assistant principal at the Lake, assistant principal at Paris High School, assistant principal most recently at Paloma Valley High School. I watched her grow and get her doctoral degree, watched her sweat and work and claw her way through a dissertation that she did a great job on. And I'm really excited to have her counseling experience now at the Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, the new principal at the Academy, Dr. Pauline Garcia. Come on up, Dr. Garcia.
Well, I wanted to thank the board and the cabinet for this opportunity at the Academy. I appreciate your support and your belief in me. I have to say that I had an amazing first week. I have a great staff and a great group of students. I am working collaboratively with my parents, my students, and my staff to create a culture of success, and I'm looking forward to a successful year. And I do have my husband here with me, Damien. We've been married 21 years, and we have 3 beautiful children, and unfortunately they're not here this evening because they are at home getting ready for school tomorrow. So again, thank you very much.
Congratulations. Well, now I'm going to ask Mr. Williamson to come up, because with Dr. Garcia leaving a big hole at Paloma Valley, Mr. Williamson, we have a new assistant principal now at Paloma Valley High School, and you get to introduce her.
Yes, we do. And I must say that I've been really lucky this year that I've got picked up a couple of assistant principals and along with a lot of staff members, and we have hit home runs on everyone, and Celeste is no exception. We got her from Val Verde. She taught at Paloma Valley as an English teacher, believe it or not, back in 2002 to 2005, so it's a homecoming for her of sorts. And she hit the ground running the week before the kids got there. She hasn't stopped running. She has a smile on her face, and she really is a team player and brings a sense of humor to the job, and I really appreciate everything she's done. So with that, Celeste Miliacho. Celeste? Oh, let me fix that for you.
Thanks. Well, thank you, Board and Dr. Greenberg and the Cabinet for giving me the opportunity, and Mr. Williamson for all the great jokes and late-night texts of what we have to do the next day. It's nice to be back home where I started my teaching career, and I look forward to growing with the district and being a positive leader at Paloma. I'd like to thank my mom and my sister that are here for their support, and I'm sorry, Mr. Swartz, I can't change my name. My dad wouldn't be happy, but Mr. Williamson said that he would give you lessons on the pronunciation, okay? Thank you. He told me part of my job, I had to change my name if I wanted the job.
So why don't you give us all a little lesson, pronounce your last name?
He is silent, it's Miliacho.
Miliacho.
Thank you.
All right. Congratulations. I'm glad, Celeste, you didn't share with everybody that you took a human resource class from somebody very close to where I'm sitting right now. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great honor to introduce the new principal of the California Military Institute, Michael Rhodes. Michael, before you speak, a little bit about him. Michael is leaving Riverside Unified as an assistant principal. We sent Riverside Unified Dr. Kaisha Holmes, who got a promotion, I might add, coming from assistant principal of Paris High School to principal at Gage Middle School, and Dr. Lynn Sheffield, who's now high school principal in that district as well. And so Riverside is very kind to release him, we hope, for next Tuesday to start at CMI. Interesting career, and we have a lot of people who are involved in the selection process in the audience, and so I'd ask if our military advisory board members or interview panel members from your interview panel, if you could stand up and just, you can see who these individuals are that were involved. Thank you. What impressed both interview panels the most about Mr. Rhodes is that he comes with the blend that everybody was looking for. He's a 20-year veteran of the Marines. Yeah. Gary Pearson said we didn't need to go on after that. What other questions do we need to ask? And the last 14 years he's been in Riverside Unified. He started an ROTC program at the new King High School. Was a teacher for 7 years, an assistant principal for 7 years. Interestingly enough, Dr. Sheffield's daughters were at King High School when he was there, and of course they didn't get in trouble. But what they said is, this guy's got more energy and enthusiasm and great ideas. And you bowled over the committees. Your reference checks were stellar, and we're proud of CMI. It's a great school, and Principal Wallace did a great job in 10 years leading it a certain way. But staff is looking for that new direction, that new spark that you will bring to that school. And so I'm really excited about you joining our team. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Rhodes.
Before you sit down or speak, I wanted to, on behalf of the staff, give you your first uniform shirt.
Nice.
So you can come prepared on Tuesday when you come to work.
Thank
your first CMI ASB shirt.
Okay, very nice. Thank you.
And a challenge coin.
Oh, that's extra nice.
Thank you. Angel Love Barons.
Thank you. So, I don't need the mic if you don't mind.
I was going to say, you're good to go.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. I want to do it a little bit different, if you don't mind, Dr. Greenberg. To the students that are here, I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate it. To the classified staff, the assistant principals, the administrators, everybody from CMI, I thank you for being here. It says a lot to me. And now, to President Holstrom and the board, and to Dr. Greenberg and the cabinet, I appreciate everyone's vote of confidence. And I look forward with extreme enthusiasm to assuming the role of principal at CMI. It is, without question, I am overwhelmed, elated, excited, and I do have a lot of energy. I didn't come in any prepared remarks because my boss didn't tell me I was speaking. However, I want to correct you on one thing, if you don't mind. This was not an interview panel, it was an interrogation panel.
I'm glad you know the difference.
I'll make sure we get that straight, because boy, it was interesting. But I want to say I'm extremely excited. I'm looking forward to the opportunity, most importantly, to work with students, to impact students in and out of uniform, on and off campus, and beyond the hallways of CMI, because that's really what I wake up every day thinking about. If I can impact a kid every day, I'm doing the right thing. And so that's my passion, that's my focus, and that's what I'll bring to CMI, and I have boundless, despite the fact that I'm old, and I admit it, boundless energy. And I better not forget my wife, because if I do, I'll be in trouble. My wife, Ronley, my supporter for my life. And again, to the interview panel, despite the fact that it was an interrogation, I do appreciate your thorough questioning. There was no waterboarding or anything like that, so I was kind of excited about that. But in any event, I appreciate the gift. And most importantly, again, I look forward to the opportunity to work with people that look like you. And the rest of them. And so I really appreciate it. And again, Dr. Greenberg and Cabinet, thanks for the process. I know I have more things to do, lots to learn. I'm in a new district with, all kinds of, but I'm ready. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, wonderful. Oral reports, budget update.
Oh wow. Time for the Military Advisory Board. Yeah. Yeah, there's not a big hoorah like for the Marines for the budget update. Yeah. All right, Ms. Raines.
Oh, wait. She has an arms. Wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do. Yeah, you didn't tell me. I forgot about that. Employee. So, if you guys could wait a second. I guess not. Brian, could you come up to the podium and introduce our...
Introduce the new addition to the Erms family.
The new addition to the Erms family. Yep.
Good evening, President Holstrom, Board, and Cabinet. It's my privilege to introduce the fourth and final member of our Erms team. Kathleen Doherty will be joining us at Paris High School. And like her colleagues, she comes to us as a licensed marriage and family therapist, extensive experience with mental health issues. One area of particular note, she was the admin overseeing Oak Grove at the Ranch non-public school just down the street here in Paris, which is an area where we send a lot of our kids, and we want to work to not send our kids there. And we know that Ms. Doherty will be a huge help in helping us to do that. So it's my privilege to introduce her to you tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can't even tell you how excited I am to bridge the gap between non-public school and public school. And every child that we can keep in-house is a blessing and a huge success for that child. And I am thrilled to be back in Paris. It's awesome. And thank you so much for the opportunity. And I can't wait to get started on September 2nd. And next year, we're going to be talking about how well this program is. I guarantee you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I apologize for not doing it when everybody was in the room. My oversight. I apologize. No, that wasn't good, but you'll be seeing me privately about that. I'm sure to counsel with me. I'll be your first person. Back to the budget.
So just if you want an interpretation of that, I think he's saying he owes you Starbucks or lunch or something like that. So
Actually, Brian Morris does, because he didn't send the email out this morning to remind me to do it.
okay, so are we ready? Can I go on, Mr. President? Okay, so we have a budget update from you. Clearly, what Mr. Rabing is about to present, which is very short, is enough of a topic to clear the room. So why don't you make your way up? And as you know, we adopt the budget based on the May revision, and so what Chris is going to present is just pretty short and sweet, a little bit better budget picture for you, and so he will highlight those changes, and then we can quickly move on to the rest of the agenda.
Well, good evening, President Holstrom, the board, Dr. Greenberg, and Cabinet. So as Ms. Raines stated, that the May revise is what we built our budget on. At this point, we have some more information once the budget was approved by the state. So the information that we're working off of has a small percentage of increase in the LCFF. So what you see here is the 29.56% shows a little more than a 1.5% increase, which had impact to the budget of $430,000 and some change. That's ongoing money. There's some money that's continuing on for the next 2 years. A little bit less than that, only because in the LCFF, when we're closing the gap, we have more money in the beginning, then you're going to get less money as we continue on. So the more that we get this year, the less of the gap is there as ongoing years are coming. We also had some changes in the CalSTRS. We initially started with a 1.6% increase in CalSTRS. The state decided to sort of give us a gradual increase in the beginning. So for next year, that increase was about 0.6%. And in turn, what they're doing with that is they're increasing those incremental changes ongoing. So as you see there, the incremental changes would have been 1.6%. At this point now, it's 1.85%. So that does impact the budget a little bit. It saved us about $250,000 this year, but next year and ongoing years, we're spending about $100,000 more than the previous budget. So at this point, by year 4, we're probably spending more money than we would have in the previous May revision. And finally, in the budget that passed, we have some one-time monies that's coming in. What they identified is that we're looking at the P2 ADA from last year. They're identifying a $66 per ADA amount. $572,811 is what they're telling us at this point. And the recommendation is that we're using that one-time dollar for the state-mandated programs, similar to what the Common Core state standards are. So right now, in future, what we're looking at doing is using the budget and the multi-year projections will be adjusted with these 3 changes. Then we'll bring that information back to you in December, along with the first interim report. The unaudited actuals will come back to you in September as well. That'll give us a better picture of what the end of 13-14 was, so that we have a great starting fund balance, and then we'll be able to justify or to give a better understanding of where the next 3 years are. And finally, the beginning balances will be adjusted based on the unaudited actuals and be included in our first interim. That was short and sweet, yeah. 4 slides, we're good. Any questions? Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Oral reports, home hospital procedures.
Yes. I've asked Mr. Morris, or actually I've asked Mr. Newman and Mr. Morris to come up and talk about this. As we finished the year last year, there was a little bit of confusion about home hospital, who was responsible, who was the teacher of record. And so after this presentation and questions tonight, I'm hoping that these 2 gentlemen will make it clear to the principals, who can then make it clear to everybody at their sites what these procedures are. And so, Mr. Newman, you're on.
Sounds good. Well, President Holstrom and the board, Superintendent Greenberg and the cabinet,
Home Hospital is one of those programs. We have kids coming to us in different circumstances. Some kids come to us in very challenging circumstances, and we want to make sure we're able to provide services for kids who have maybe mental illnesses as well as physical illnesses that prevent them from coming to school. And that's where Home Hospital comes in terms of providing services. So first off, just real briefly to summarize the requirements, it's designed for students who are unable to attend school for a period in excess of 8 weeks. The absence is due to documented disability or an injury. It's a temporary or long-term disability that makes attendance impossible or inadvisable, meaning students cannot, it's just inappropriate for this particular student. The student is unable to make it to school. And so what that process looks like when we reach that particular situation with a student, the parent will complete and submit a Home Hospital packet. We have a packet that we have that particular parent complete. If you look at step 2, it says Home Hospital packet is forwarded to the Pupil Services Office. This is a little different in terms of when we're dealing with a student with disabilities, because we have to make sure the IEP team for special education will spend time looking at the Home Hospital packet to ensure just the student needs are met. Step 3, our district nurses are involved in this process where they review the request to confirm the medical need. Once again, built into that step as well, that IEP team is involved as well, looking at the IEP to confirm and agree with the nurses on the need for the student. The final step, and this is just the approval pathway that students travel in terms of looking at their situation. Step 4, Pupil Services and Special Ed Director, we are kind of the final piece to look and approve the Home Hospital request. The next slide kind of identifies what that instruction process looks like. And I'll go over the packet with you in just a second in terms of what you have inside your packet. Step 1, the Home Hospital teacher. Once we realize the student is in need of these services, we basically assign a Home Hospital teacher. The Home Hospital teacher develops what we call a Home Hospital tutorial agreement with the student and the parents. So they'll go out and go through the process in terms of what their sessions will look like while they're in the home. The Step 2, Home Hospital teacher will contact classroom teachers if applicable in terms of identifying lesson plans. The goal is that student does not fall behind what's taking place in the regular classroom. So let's say a student has a car accident in September. That kid is out of school for 2 months. We want to make sure those lesson plans that they're receiving in Home Hospital is mirroring what's taking place in that regular classroom, so that when they transition back, let's say in November, that student's able to do a smooth transition back and they don't lose the instructional time necessary to keep up with the grade. Step 4, Home Hospital teacher will record weekly progress and submit student progress reports during the regular grading intervals. In particular, that Home Hospital teacher is responsible for all the grading and also submitting grades while that student is in Home Hospital. If the student transitions back early, then they will do what we call final grades for that particular period, and that will be handed to the teacher of record so that teacher can continue to monitor the progress of that student. If it's a final grade for the semester, then we will finalize the grades based on the grades that we receive from the Home Hospital teacher. And they'll follow the regular intervals throughout the school year, the 6-week intervals, in providing grades for the student. What we also have for you in your packet, on the left side of your packet, you actually have the yellow form, and this yellow form will highlight registration for students in regular education. This is the Home Hospital packet that the actual parent will fill out. The purple will highlight what we have for special ed students on the left side, what they will complete. This document comes directly from Riverside County SELPA in terms of making sure we're in compliance with what we're completing. We also listed in here purple Home Hospital guidelines for special ed, because there's so much information in terms of special education. We want to list additional information if you wanted to go through that. On the right side of your packet, we have also provided you with the actual blue form that gives you the documents that the teachers walk through with students when they meet with them in terms of the Home Hospital, the Home Tutorial Agreement, as well as their additional forms in here that they will complete to monitor the student's progress while they're there. Okay? Does anyone have any questions? Brian, you have anything like that?
What I want to add, Board, with special ed, enrolling a special ed student into Home Hospital parallels what we do for regular ed students, with the exception that we will hold an IEP and it is the decision of the IEP team with consent of the parent to place the child in home hospital with the intent of being least restrictive environment and keep them there as little amount of time as possible and bring them back. When we bring the child back from home hospital to a regular campus, we will again hold the transition IEP and ensure that the student will be acclimating properly to the regular campus. We don't just send them in, but there will be an IEP in and an IEP out in both cases. The teachers that service special ed students on home hospital must be credentialed special ed teachers, and that would be the only real major difference with the regular ed students.
I'm sure the board members may have questions, but one of the things I want to do, Mr. Newman, once the board agrees, this sounds like a very sound plan that you've got together. What I want to make sure is that on the next faculty meeting agenda for every one of our schools, either you or the principal are going through this so the teachers can see this and understand and know what it is, because they'll get kids like this. You won't get them all the time. You won't get them every year, but you will get them. And I think that's one of Mr. Holstrom's points, is that information needs to be clear to everyone.
Yeah, if this happens in the middle of the year when they have their accident or whatever the reason is, how long does it take to determine that the student's going to be in home hospital? And, when does the teacher know that the student's going to be out and they're no longer responsible for the attendance type stuff? I mean, can you kind of go over how the teacher's going to deal with all this?
Well, the goal is to move on it as quickly as possible. So typically the first step is to complete that packet, get it to Pupil Services. The day it arrives in our office, it goes directly to a nurse immediately. So within a day, a nurse is looking at it, the nurse contacts the doctor to confirm that need, and they immediately get it directly back to our office. At that moment, we assign a teacher to immediately go out and provide services for that student. So if you average in what each step looks like, we're looking at 3 days tops, we should be able to get services out. Now, once that takes place, the register at each school site, the counseling department is sending out notice to the specific teacher, notifying them that this particular student is in home hospital until further notice, and at that moment it's marked on their actual attendance as home hospital.
They would be notified, and then at that point, the attendance part is not their responsibility. They don't have to deal with it. Right. And then if the home hospital teacher comes in and looks at the lesson plans and stuff, that would be probably their only contact is with helping them. So the teacher will understand, okay, at that point, until they come back, that's not their responsibility, other than up to the point for the grades and stuff. But after that, it's somebody else's, so they won't have anything come back at them. Okay, right. Thank you.
Yep. Any further questions?
Class.
That is the form that's inside our packet, is that for when a student is released, they finalize all their grades to take back so that they have finalized grades that go back with them to the classroom.
Okay, and then the classroom teacher just takes those grades and goes on with whatever they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you very much. Okay, oral reports, funding options for advanced placement testing and survey results from other districts.
Yes, at the last board meeting, we asked Mr. Bennett to work with Mr. Tippie and go out and find some information about what other districts are doing. I thought both Grant and Charles made a very complete report. We're doing a lot for our AP kids right now, and I know there's board members have opinions on this as well. So I think it's important we tell you what we found out, and we'll go from there. So thank you, Mr. Bennett and Mr. Tippie.
President Holstrom, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Greenberg and Cabinet, thank you for having us back. It's part two of what we did. Last month when we came, we talked about how many kids were taking AP tests, how much it was costing those kids, and that type of information. This month we're coming back with some different kind of options and some other information. I'm going to let Charles start out with sharing some of that information, then I'll jump in afterwards.
Okay, so Grant, last couple of weeks ago, contacted some of his friends in other districts, and we found overwhelmingly that all of the districts participated in the fee waiver. So students who qualify for free and reduced lunch are able to waive the fees of the AP test, and they pay about $5. And then none of the other districts did any supplemental programs, kind of like what we're looking at right now. And this is the Hide Your Wallets district pays for every single AP test that the kids take slide. And you could see it's pretty significant. You're looking at about $100,000 if the district were to pay for every single test that the students take. A couple things I wanted to highlight on this page. You can see the difference down at the bottom that students who don't qualify for free and reduced lunch have to pay $89 for each test, and students who do qualify for free and reduced lunch only have to pay $5. So for both the students and the districts, the students who don't qualify for free and reduced are the ones that this can create a challenge for, and as I mentioned, that's for the student and the district. And you can see another thing to highlight, overwhelming number of our students are on free and reduced lunch that are taking these tests, but you can see that the cost is more for the students who don't qualify. And this slide highlights the number of tests that the majority of students take. So you can see here that we have 999 students who take only one AP test, and we had one brave soul take all 6 tests. So, and that's kind of where the challenges run into. The student that's taking 6 tests would be spending about $500 on those tests. So that's where the challenge is. So Grant's going to show you some of the different options and things that we came up with.
And while Grant's doing that and getting ready, board members, what I want you to know, though, is for the student who took 6 tests and passed them all, his parents saved more than the $500, probably times 10 or more, in tuition at the University of California or Cal State University. So let's make sure we understand here that, you know, that we don't exist as a school district to help our students get credits to reduce their future tuition. I mean, it's a nice thing when we can assist them in making that happen, but paying for it, I think, I'll let you take it from there.
And it was $534 to be exact, in case he's a Spanish teacher. I was a math teacher, so we'll figure that out. What I wanted to do is share some information about some different options that we just put together, just looking at the numbers and what we have there. And I wanted to bring it in one line at a time because it shows some real good information. This first line is if the district funded one test per student. So that means if the district pays for, we had 999 kids take one test, but there was also all those kids that took 2, 3, 4, 5, paying for one of those. There would be 1,699 kids taking the district funding one of those tests. And how we figured out these numbers for free and reduced and non-free and reduced, if you looked at page 2 where it said the percentage district-wide was 63%, we used that because we couldn't come up with an exact number, so we took the district percentage and worked that in. So you would see the cost for non-free and reduced lunch kids would be about $57,000 to the district to pay for one test per student. And Mr. Agundes had talked to last meeting about, well, every kid should have to pay something on these tests, whether it be the free and reduced $5 or something, so they have some buy-in and some ownership to it. So what I did is on the bottom there in the brackets, the $53,760 what it would cost the district if the kid had to pay $5 per test. And then I slid that number over to the right. It's $3,200 for that many tests. Does that kind of make sense? Good. So the next one is if the district funded 2 tests per student. So there'd be a total of 2,369 tests to fund. 877 would be non-free and reduced lunch, so it would be about $78,000 district funding the whole thing, or $73,668 if they made the kids pay the $5. And I just continued on with 3 tests, almost 2,700 tests total, 88,644 and or 83,660. My contacts don't work. 664 if the kids paid 5. And finally, if the district paid for 4 of them, it's up to 2,775, and you can see the numbers there, 91,000. So that's kind of one way we looked at it if the district was going to fund one test. Then we kind of turned it around a little bit and did a second combination of options, and that's if the student pays for the first test and then the district covers all the others. So if we have 999 kids take one test, They would have to pay for all those tests or free and reduced lunch, whatever it worked out to. But then all the other kids, if they took 2, 3, 4, if a kid took 2, they'd pay for 1, district would pay for 1. And then district pay for 1 and kids pay for 2. So this is what the numbers would look like in that case. There'd be a total of 1,134 tests given, 420 non-free and reduced lunch, so about $37,000 footing the whole bill, or about $35,280 if you made the kids pay the $5 per test. And then finally, if the district paid for 2 tests for students, and it would be the student pays for the first 2 tests. So there would be a total of 449 tests that the district would cover, and you can see the numbers there. I don't need to read those to you. I know you can read those. So that's kind of what we were able to come up with different options. Now we came up with options how it would work, but we don't run the money, so we just come up with options. Were there any questions about that information or anything more that we could share? We did find that none of the other districts are doing anything other than the waiver system. I try to find the contiguous districts to us.
Mm-hmm. What is our gate budget?
I'm glad you asked that, Mrs. Twyman. There is no gate budget. That was swept up a number of years ago out of special funding. It's into the general fund. But just so you know, we have gate coordinator stipends at each of our schools for our teachers. And it helps pay for AP prep that they do on Saturdays and other activities they do at school, but there is no gate money per se. It was swept up in Tier 3 flexibility.
Oh, good grief.
All right, so about 5 years ago.
As I recall, when I was a counselor, if you did not take the AP test, you would not get credit for the AP class.
Right, and some districts do that. They don't allow the kids to get the 5 grade point on the 5-point scale if they don't take the test. Our district has not done that. There was conversation probably about 5 years ago that do we want to do that to try to force kids to take the test? But then we said if we're going to force them to take the test, then we need to pay if we're going to try to force them.
Well, I'm talking about the college. Doesn't the college not count the class like you were talking about?
They don't get college credit for it if they don't take the test.
Yes.
They still earn the 5 grade points towards entrance into college.
Okay, that could be a valedictorian issue.
Now there's something else that what we're really going to try to expand because of the AP. If they get a 3, some colleges give it at 3 or 4 or 5. If they get the score, they get the college credit. But if we keep working with Mount San Jacinto to expand our dual enrollment program, then the kids don't have to take the test, and they would earn the college credits right there by passing the class with a C or better, and get college transferable credits.
Would that be with Mount San Jacinto only?
That we have that arrangement with them already. We just have to get teachers that have a master's in that subject matter, and get the kids identified at the right time and get them enrolled. But we've been trying to
not the dual thing, the AP class. You were saying that if they took the class, they would get the credit.
They get the grade point credit.
Oh, okay.
But they don't get the college credit unless they get a 3 or higher on the AP exam.
Okay. I can see why teachers would want to have those students in the class, but it just seems like, sometimes they don't take the class that seriously if they don't have to take the test.
Right. But one of our philosophies when we were expanding the AP program, I know when I was at Paris High, it was very restrictive on the kids getting into those classes. And I pushed them to open it up because my philosophy was the more kids we're exposing to that rigorous curriculum, the higher level we're going to be able to push them to whether they take the test or not. They're still getting a more rigorous curriculum than they would in a regular U.S. history class rather than an AP class.
Let's see if what do the teachers think about the AP test versus the AP class? I mean, do they think that there should be an AP test if you take the class?
It's kind of mixed because when we looked at this a few years ago, some of the teachers thought we really need to push and make the kids take the test to be in my class, but others said, well, a kid could be in my class and work hard, maybe just not be that strong a student. They may get a C in the class, but they're not that strong, and they're going to spend a lot of money to take the test and knowing they're not going to probably score high enough to earn the college credit. So other teachers said that it's a good thing not to force them to take the test.
Well, and the other thing is, if we have more kids wanting to take AP classes, it allows us to open up more AP sections. If all of a sudden we say you have to take the test, then the problem is we may have less kids and then not be able to offer the number of sections we need to cover the students who want to take the test. So
yeah, I'm just thinking, are we, I'm not saying dumbing down, but are we actually making it easier, or are we really following the AP guidelines?
Every teacher has to be trained in AP and submit their course every year to be through what's called a AP audit. So their course has to be audited for what they're going to be teaching, what materials they're using, and those things. So those things happen every summer. It's pretty rigorous on how they're approved to have the class.
Okay, so right now they actually pay $5 to take the test if they're free and reduced.
Right. If they're free and reduced lunch, they pay $5 per test.
Mm-hmm.
If they're non-free and reduced, it's $89. And I'm paying for $5 this year.
As you should, all them big bucks you're earning now.
Any other questions?
Maybe, but I'll talk to you.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, action item 12.1, curriculum consultant contract agreement with InterQuest Detection Canines of San Diego for substance awareness and detection services funded through the Safe and Drug-Free Schools and the General Fund. Motion, please.
Second.
Okay, John and David. Give us a quick once over on this.
Well, first of all, we thought we didn't know if you'd be in the mood tonight because we were going to have Who Let the Dogs Out playing in the background, but Candace vetoed the idea. But yeah, as you know, we did the undercover sting last year with Riverside County, and I can't confirm or deny that we're not doing it again this year. And with the dogs, I mean, obviously, our intention is to make sure that kids and everybody on campus knows that bringing drugs or alcohol into campus is not allowed. It's a violation of the law, and we certainly want to do everything we can to teach our kids to be responsible about their decision making. But we think the dogs and the undercover officers and all the other things that we do, great campus supervisors and teachers with their eyes open, watching what's happening. These are all part of the program to make sure that we keep that stuff off of our campuses. So this would have been, they missed the deadline of getting us this contract prior to the July board meeting. Otherwise, it would have been on the agenda last month.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or anything?
Yeah, I had a question. It says funded through Safe and Drugs. General Fund and Safe and Drug-Free Schools. What percentage of it is being funded through the General Fund? Okay.
Can we?
I was going to say our Safe and Drug-Free, that fund was also swept up in the Tier 3. Tier 3, right.
So it's all essentially it's all general fund money now.
Okay.
But it was swept up into it. So
It's a whole new funding formula.
New rules.
yeah, don't you love it?
We're learning.
Any other questions? Okay, please vote. Okay. Building and Grounds ratification of a geotechnical exploration and testing agreement with Earth Systems Southwest for High School number 4, project funded through the building fund, not the general fund. Motion, please.
Second.
That was Ty, but
Give it to Ed.
yeah, he needs credit. Yeah. Okay. Any questions or? Okay. I guess we can go on. Just give us a quick of what they're doing here.
Well, the first thing is we actually intended this to be on consent, so we apologize because it's just one of those routine facilities things that happened. And as you're aware, we have a purchasing policy, board policy that allows for facilities ratifications for projects that you've already approved, not just for whatever Art and Hector might feel like doing any given day of the week. And the purpose of that is so that we don't slow down the timelines of our projects. And so this was for geotechnical services for High School 4. That's the brief explanation. Anything more than that, we'll need Hector.
Oh, okay. Geotechnical, what are they looking for with this?
That's the soils exploration, digging pits, finding out what the substrate is, what they're going to be building foundations on. Our civil engineer needs this report so he can start sizing the foundations for the buildings.
Okay,
Making sure there's no earthquake faults, silty soil, make sure we're on a good foundation.
Just trying to look under the surface to see what's down there.
We have a lot of rock out there, but we also have a lot of silt and different types of dirt. So this geotech report kind of identifies all that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, please vote. Okay. Okay, 12.3 business, ratification agreement services with Plasco Incorporated for PlastTrack Hero software, equipment training and support. Okay, motion please. Okay. Give us a quick over on this one.
Because I'm not updated on Plasco, actually.
Maybe Julie, Chris. Where's Nick? I can do this a little bit. This is a program that they began. No, I don't. Well, if you can, Joe. Okay, so let me start. This is a program that they began using several years ago at Heritage High School. They last year, Mr. Williamson, I think, began using it at Paloma Plasco Track.
We're just getting it going now.
Oh. Paris High did the pilot, and Paloma and Heritage are now coming on board. And in a nutshell, it's a system that helps with student behavior and attendance and tardies and so forth.
And I think what happens is there's devices, mobile devices that campus supervisors can swap kids' ID cards in, add the incident in so that it's real time, so that if a student tells a campus supervisor or comes in the office and says, gee, I've only been tardy once today, since it's happening real time, the assistant principal, Ms. Tejeda Van Rensburg, for example, could say, no, Mr. Greenberg, you've been tardy 3 times today. And so, again, it allows us to stay on top. It does a lot more than that, too.
It's actually more about positive reinforcement than it is about the negative enforcement of poor behavior. So really what we want to focus on is when kids are doing good things and participating in club activities and getting involved in school. So it's more about helping us get more students involved in being a part of the school culture rather than it being only a behavior thing.
Can you share about how a campus supervisor can either script out?
Yeah, it actually prints out an immediate consequence or an immediate reward.
You can download the application on your iPhone or on any Android phone, and we can scan the student's ID right from here without buying an expensive device, we found out. And just like Heritage is going to be doing, what we're trying to do is, for example, when kids are wearing school spirit gear, whether it's the school colors or they show up to a game, we scan their IDs, the barcode on their IDs. We give them points. If they participate in positive things we want them to do, we give them points. And we're going to have contests between grades. We're going to give prizes, individual prizes to the students, like lanyards and T-shirts or that sort of thing as they complete the different levels.
Yeah, and Heritage and Paloma have done the Plasco system through the S3 grant, and that's really about the supporting the school culture.
Well, and I know if Mr. Newman were up here, he would tell you this is music to his ears, because if you're not reading the newspaper and seeing that the state, many school districts are eliminating willful defiance for suspension. It's a pending bill in Sacramento. LA Unified has already eliminated it. So the idea is positive behavior intervention strategies. This is what we need to do to not be sending kids home for the kinds of things that we've done in the past. Obviously, drugs and weapons, different story. But the other reasons, really, research has shown a propensity for it being minority kids, English learners who are being sent home, students in poverty in greater numbers, and they're missing out on their education. So the idea behind doing these kind of positive things is to balance that and give students rewards and encouragement and keep them in school.
The ultimate goal with Plasco, too, is to extend it to the parent school community as well, so that they can use their identification systems, incorporate that into the Plasco system, and engage parents. Even I know when Don was talking about rewards for students, I know you've also talked about having incentives for parents. You know, maybe they attend 5 different activities or whatever, and that that allows them maybe one free access to something.
Right. We want to motivate the parents to also come to more school activities and be involved in their students, and so we want to get them some positive reinforcement as well.
Yeah, it's been something that's been difficult for us to be able to monitor and track, so this provides us an opportunity to monitor the positive things, not just the negative things
Right.
that go in the discipline file and whatnot. So,
Great job.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions?
That's why I made the motion, because I knew it was a wonderful program.
Okay, Ed. Okay, please vote. Carolyn, vote. Thank you. Okay, just business and information items, revolving cash report.
There's more cash.
Every month it revolves.
Yeah. And of course, our favorite are board policies, Series 0. More board policies, bylaws, 9,000 series. Closed session.
Not necessary, Mr. President.
Good answer. Okay, we don't have to reconvene. Other items by the superintendent.
Just one. I want everybody to know that Coach Bert Esposito, the head football coach at Paloma Valley, has challenged me with the ALS challenge, which is the ice bucket. So Tanya Davis tried to tell me there's a 24-hour rule in which you have to deal with it. Well, I'm not abiding by the 24-hour rule. Just want you to know that. But I will take on the challenge. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it at the first home game for Paloma on their new athletic field. But I'm going to do it at a time when I can run somewhere real quick and change clothes. Somebody said I should wait till the great challenge game, Paloma versus Heritage, but it's going to be too cold then. I'm not waiting that long. Plus, I think the fine may be about $5,000 by then. But I just wanted you to know our coaches and everybody's really excited. That has been a great program incentive around the country. All the stars and teachers and everybody here in the community doing that and raising great funds for research for ALS. So, anyway, I do want you to know that I won't. I will take the challenge.
Okay, thank you. Other items by the board. Carolyn, Ed, David, Joan. My goodness, a lot of good answers tonight.
Say something. We're going to take a break, right? We're going to take a break, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So I just wanted to compliment everyone that worked on the workshops on the first 2 days back. That was awesome. I wanted to go back for more, for seconds or thirds, not of food, but what was going around there, all the positive vibes and all that. And so it was a great start everybody enjoys, the social aspect of that as well as the learning. So thank you for doing all of that. Good job.
Okay. Adjournment motion, please.
Second.
David. Oops. David and Joan. Please vote. Okay, let's take 10, 15-minute break now.